You've got 10 movies in a poll where you have to vote in the 10 best movies of all time. What 10 do you pick? This is an actual exercise conducted every 10 years by the British Film Institute, their Sight and Sound poll, and I think they're going to do it this year in 2022. This video gives you my list of 10. I don't have a vote in the poll, but if I did, here is what I would vote for coming up next. All right, so every 10 years, the British Film Institute conducts a poll of critics and directors. They pool hundreds of critics, hundreds of directors, and they have separate lists, critics and directors lists, of the best movies ever. This list is good to mine for you for your own recommendations. Now, if you had a vote in the poll, you would have to choose just 10 movies. Only 10. It's really, really hard to pick and to narrow down 10 movies. And one thing of value about this poll, they do it every 10 years. They've been doing it since 1952. So we have a record of historical change of what people thought was great over the last 50, 60, 70 years. And so now in 2022, they're going to do this again, and we'll see what people come up with this time as the best movies ever. I encourage you to put your list together, and as soon as you do this, you're going to run into some problems. First, you're going to ask yourself, should I choose a movie from every decade? Should I include a silent movie? Should I, include genre pictures? Are these your top 10 favorites? Or are these the 10 movies that you would choose to put in a time capsule and preserve for, people 500 years from now? Are these the 10 most influential movies? Are these the 10 representative movies of some agenda or ideology? There are so many ways to come at your particular list of 10. So what I've done, as I said, they have to be favorites. I have to be able to rewatch them. They're sort of desert island movies. I think they have to have some influence, and I want a little bit of diversity in this list in terms of at least where these movies were released in the world and when they were released. That said, striving for those things, even then my list falls short. So you're going to be able to pick it apart as you can anyone's list, which are freely available from all the past polls on BFI's site. My number one choice is very easy. It's Rashomon by Akira Kurosawa. I think this movie is not only highly influential, very famous, it is endearing. It's about World War II. It's about the philosophy of the 20th century. It's about so many things at once, and it is profound that it has to be up here. I can easily pick a number of other Kurosawa movies, but I'm only going to choose one of his, and this is the one. To me, it's number one easily. Number two, I'm going to pick one of my favorites. Actually, a movie that I've loved for over 20 years. I've rewatched it many times. It's impacted me pretty much every single time. It's also a war movie, so it fits that genre. It's Terrence Malick's The Thin Red Line. Just like Rashomon, this movie is all-encompassing. It's asking massive philosophical questions. It's about a great number of things. What I find, it's uplifting and entertaining as well. I think that's part of the criteria of this poll, is to be watchable and entertaining. Number three is a movie I revere. I just love this movie and what it's about. And frankly, urbanism in the 20th century is a big problem or a big success story or both. This movie is about that, architecture, modernism, and so on. It is Jacques Tati's Playtime. If you haven't seen Playtime, I just recommend it. It is different, is unusual, and in a weird way, this is going to be my choice for a silent movie. Even though it's not silent, it's based on the silence of Chaplin and Keaton and so on. I didn't put them in this list. I feel kind of bad, but Playtime is definitely in the ballpark and an homage to the earlier silence from before the sound era. Number four could get me in trouble. I haven't seen this on the BFI list much because the BFI poll tends to be a little snobby, let's say. It definitely ignores blockbuster fare and comic book entertaining fare for sure. This movie, though, you can't argue with its cultural impact and influence. It may be the most impactful movie ever, and it's Star Wars by George Lucas. I will not apologize for this choice because I know that half the directors who are voting in this poll watched Star Wars a lot and were influenced by it as I did. I have the whole thing probably memorized. It's just, and this is a science fiction choice for this list. So Star Wars, the very first Star Wars from 1977. Number five, now I feel like I do have to put Alfred Hitchcock in here. He's just so great. And my favorite Hitchcock movie partly because I can analyze it and enjoy the analysis of it, is Rear Window. I don't think Rear Window is as entertaining as other Hitchcock movies, but it is definitely the most interesting to me, from the limitations, the way it was shot, almost all in one room, to, music and sound coming only from within the movie. It's a really interesting film experiment, as well as just a good story, I think, with good characters and really thoughtful. This is a philosophical movie for sure, like Rashomon, Thin Red Line, even though it doesn't look like it. So this is my favorite Hitchcock, even though Psycho could be here, and about 5 others. Number 6 is a movie I have not yet talked about on my channel. This is early 2022, but I love this movie. It's really long and interesting, and the story of its making is amazing. It's Children of Paradise by the great French director Marcel Carné. If you haven't seen this movie, it's really captivating, and it's worth watching a documentary reading about the making of this movie. Is made during World War II and the Nazi occupation of France. And, the French are fabulous contributors to film, to the development of film studies, and, making of film. So I have to put something from France. This is my representative example. Number 7, this is probably worse than Star Wars in terms of people going, what are you doing? Why are you putting this here? I feel like a list like this has to have an animated movie. You think about all the influence and the amazing work done in animation, the artwork. It's incredible what's happened over the last 100 years. And frankly, I'm going to apologize first, because it could be very easy to put a Miyazaki movie here, but I really want to put 5 Miyazaki movies. I think put 5 in together and see them all, but I can't pick just one of those. So frankly, one of my favorite movies is, honestly, I've watched it a lot, is Ratatouille. I think Ratatouille is profound. It's about business and entrepreneurship. It's about delusion. It's about artistry and creativity. It's about being an individual versus being in a group. It's about 100 different things. It's a feel-good movie. I love the music in this. I love the look of it. Brad Bird is fabulous as a director. This is my favorite animated movie, probably, other than, a whole range of Miyazaki ones. So I'm going to put this in here. Let me know if you agree or disagree, and what animated movie would you put in here, if not this one. Number 8. Now, I feel like as well I need to put a documentary, because how crucial are documentaries in film history? And so one of my favorite directors, one of the first I actually tackled on this channel, Werner Herzog. And I'm going to put a favorite of mine. You could put a bunch of Herzog movies on these lists, but Grizzly Man. What's interesting about Grizzly Man is it's found footage, and then Herzog takes it and then adds to it and then edits it. To me, this movie is about 100 different things as well, and I think that's really one of the criteria for my list. If a movie is about 10 or 15 different topics and combines them in unique ways, sort of this idea in Ratatouille of taking multiple pieces of food, combining them to have a new taste, a new flavor, new experience, new vision. That's what I'm looking for on this list. And Grizzly Man, check out my Letterboxd review of it. I just have a small list of all the things that this movie is about. I've watched this and watched this again, and it's an amazing movie, amazing character study, amazing study of humanity, period. So I recommend this highly. All right, now we're down to numbers 9 and 10. And I'm starting to feel badly because I'm missing 100 movies I'd like to put on here. I think I need to put something by Andrei Tarkovsky. One of my muses. I absolutely love the man and his work. One of the most profound experiences I've ever undergone is watching his movies chronologically within about a week to 2 weeks period, beginning at his first movie, ending at his last. And it's amazing how much you get to know somebody by doing that. I'm going to choose his last movie, The Sacrifice, a very profound, subtle science fiction movie, homage to Bergman, among other directors. I just find this to be a wonderfully thoughtful, well-crafted movie. And as well, it's hitting this, the slow cinema ethos that has been around for a long time. So The Sacrifice, but you could put Mirror in here. I would be very happy if you substituted Mirror, his autobiographical film, for Sacrifice, but either one of those works for me. Last, now I haven't chosen Citizen Kane yet. Should I choose Citizen Kane? It's been at the number 1 spot on the BFI poll for every single poll except for 2012, when Vertigo went above it. Vertigo's number 1, Citizen Kane's number 2 in 2012. So I could do something strategic. I think Citizen Kane is an absolutely fabulous and great movie, well constructed, thoughtful, thematic. I mean, everything about it is great. And so I could put it here in order to try to boost it back up to number 1 if if I wanted to. And so, you know, voters would have this sort of strategy. There's a game theory going on here. Should I put this or that movie in order to make things go up or down? But I'm going to put one I think I would rewatch again and again, and I'm going to cheat. Because this is maybe 10 movies instead of one movie. Your opinion may be that it's 10 movies. This is Krzysztof Kieslowski's The Decalogue. Kieslowski, if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably call him my favorite director. I think he's great at everything. And The Decalogue is his masterwork. Now, it is 10 movies, 10 one-hour movies, but it's all of a piece, and they don't really work individually as well as they do as a group because they're knitted together. So I've seen a number of people say the Decalogue is all one film or one long film. It's a series of short films. It's a group. So, hey, an anthology. Here you go. The Decalogue at number 10. Fitting that the Decalogue is at number 10. Now, what is your list? I'm very eager to hear my subscribers and viewers and anybody who shows up here. Put it in the comments. You can justify it if you want to. You can say what was missing from my list. And let's get a bunch of lists because I think this particular comment section could be good to mine for recommendations and also to take a poll of this channel to see what 10 movies people think are the greatest or the best or something like that. And then if someone wants to come along and put all of these lists together, we could have a counter BFI poll, or we could have a learning about movies, a great movie poll here. Put them all in an Excel sheet and you can figure out our top 100 or top 200 here. That would be amazing. So go ahead and try that if you wish. And as always, as a disclaimer, I'm sure this list will change. Maybe in 2 years I'll see a movie I think is absolutely great and put it in here. I'm sure if I did this every 5 to 10 years, I would have an interesting snapshot of my own life, just as BFI has an interesting snapshot of cultural history and what's popular in the moment in time. Thanks for watching. Check out the BFI's poll whenever it's released, and when it is, I'll talk about it at length in probably multiple videos. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.